Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live sketchbook tour where I'm going to be going through two recent sketchbooks, a big A4 hardcover and a small soft cover, and I'm going to talk about why I did that and how I've been sketching over the last couple of weeks, months or so. As always, it's great to see everyone in the chat. We've had a few technical difficulties this morning, so I'm just hoping everything will go okay. And I can see the chat moving. That's always good. Welcome, everyone. So great to see you. As always, Chantal is here in the chat to help out. If you have questions for me, put questions at the beginning. And I can see the message. You can see and hear me. So that's good. We've just had half an hour of my internet playing up. So I want to just kick it off with a question and ask you, how are you going? How's your sketching been in the last month? Have you been getting out? Are you happy with what you've achieved? Let me know in the chat, and we can see people from all over the world. That's great. Now let me just make sure everything is going well. So yeah, how has your sketching been going in the last month? I had my sister and her family visit from Scotland for a month, and so a lot of my sketching in the past 6 weeks has been affected by how I can squeeze sketching in when I'm going out with her and the two kids, a 6.5 and a 10.5. Yeah, let me know, and hopefully everything's going. As I go through my sketchbook, if you have a question about a specific page, could you just put a little bit of context, because I'm probably moved on to the next 3 pages by the time. Okay, so Eva's saying, I'm enrolled in your foundations course, my first course with you, and I'm learning so much. That's fantastic. Susan saying too much rain here in NH for outdoor sketching. Misty's been working through foundations. So if you didn't know, I have my own online courses, which most of you know, and a group is going through the foundations course at the moment, which has been fantastic to see everyone's work. And we've got a live session for that next week as well, if you're doing that. Katie's saying, until this week, I've been in a bit of a slump. I'm better now and hope it stays that way. Oh, you had some surgery. Okay, I hope you're doing well, Katie. Catherine saying, bit hit and miss. Brian's a pro sketcher, have no problem. Well, that's great to hear. Who else? Just finished my teacups course, T106 teacups. So you're working your way through it. That's great. Okay, let me get going, as I've got 2 sketchbooks to go. So let's see if everything is working. The chat seems a little bit slow for me at the moment. So let me just make sure that we're focused on the page. Okay, so as I said, 2 sketchbooks. This is an A4 hard-bound alpha book by Stillman and Byrne. I love the alpha book because the paper is good enough but not too good, and that's great. It's just good. It buckles a little bit when I use water, but overall it gives me a freedom to sketch. Now, most of you will go, what is this page? So most of you know that I start my sketchbook all the time with what materials I use in my book. Well, this is a sign that things have been a bit crazy lately. I didn't even finish the first page of this sketchbook. Yes, there we go. That's like the blankest title page, first page I've ever had in a sketchbook for a long time. And before I start talking about anything, the most common questions I always get is, how do I do my guidelines? So I have a specially designed grid paper that I put under the alpha paper, which you can see. Can you see how it is visible underneath the page, as long as there's not too much paint on the other side? And I do my lines with a fountain pen using a Herban Diablo Mentho ink. I also date stamp, so I have some date stamps that I use, and that's Southport by Paper Person. And I'm happy to answer materials questions, but I do have a special section on my blog, Sketching Tools, where I go into that in a lot of detail. And in fact, I've been updating that in the past couple of days as well. So Here we go. So let me just get myself. It was a bit hectic this morning with my internet problems. But anyway, okay. So first page. First page in my book, you always feel a bit of pressure, but I just get over and done with. I have a strategy of trying to turn up if I've got an appointment. I try to turn up early, and then I sketch from where I park the car, even if it's a boring building. I try to find something interesting to do. So this is a very boring sketch, very boring building, but I'm trying to do some texture in it. And back when I started this sketchbook, I was trying a lot of different materials. So I have watercolor, I have color pencils, watercolor pencils, markers, and also the Caran d'Ache Neo Color crayons, which are water-soluble wax crayons. So this is one of my morning sketches. If you're not aware, every morning I go out and get a takeaway coffee, and then I go and sit somewhere, normally in this same village green in my local area, and I sketch the view and try and keep myself motivated. It's not a very exciting view, but I keep myself motivated by trying to sketch the same thing over and over again. So on this particular day, I really lent into the texture of these neo colors, and yes, and you can see there's a lot of texture, there. Then later that day, I caught a train into the city, and I mean, most of these pages have actually been shared on my blog as well. So if you go to the description of under this video, you'll see a link to all of the articles from this particular sketchbook, which is 172 of my everyday books. So this is the trains were majorly delayed, and I just basically sketched the journey. And this isn't like a really dramatic sketchbook page. If you look at it, it's a bit all over the place, but I really like it and I really enjoyed doing it. So I started just drawing the train tracks because we weren't moving. Then once we started moving, I started drawing the view, but then people got out. And then you can see I was just documenting every time we stopped, I would draw a little bit more and add the time. So you can see through here, I started drawing a tree and then we moved. I extended the scene when we're at North Sydney, and then when we stopped at Milson's Point, I thought, we'll probably stop here for a bit longer. Started drawing the Harbour Bridge, but then we moved, then we stopped again. So I drew as we're going under the pylon of the Harbour Bridge, and then as we're crossing the Harbour Bridge, we're going slow, so I sketched again. So this is where using your sketchbook to fill in time is a great thing. And I think a lot of you will have tried that. I don't know if you realize as soon as you start sketching, as soon as you start sketching, the thing that you're waiting for often happens. You really get caught up in a sketch and then you have to move or something moves. Question, what are some most helpful resources you use when you are teaching yourself watercolor? That is such a long time ago. But if you actually go to that's a very, very hard question. If you go to my sketching tools page and you look at the 12 color watercolor, there's a couple of links in that, a description of what helped me choose colors. In terms of painting, it's a long process of finding my own voice. And yes, that's a good question. Hard to answer. But if you go to the 12 color palette thing, there's a list of some of the things that helped me understand watercolor better. So this then is, once I finally got into the city, it was getting dark, it was a freezing cold day, and I sketched this view of St. James, which I've just posted on my blog. And this is where I'm sitting quite close to a church that's right in front of me. So this is a case where I tried to distort the perspective and I curved it. So it's not a true fisheye, because a true fisheye would be curving the verticals as well. But it's just a way that I like playing and distorting perspective in a free way, not feeling too stressed about it. Just start, because I'm left-handed, I start on this side and I keep working. And this was a fun sketch. As I said, it was cold, the light was fading, and the rector of this church passed by. He was just returning from a jog, and he stopped and talked to me. I'm going, I want to finish my sketch. It was very nice. But anyway, so that was fun. And then I'm trying to do a little bit more people sketching because I'm been out of practice quite a lot. So I typically don't sketch around a lot of people most of the time. So this is actually two scenes. So this is the first scene from where I was eating, and then this is a second scene, which is a food court with a lot of curves. So I think this is, it's fun when you look back and go, what exactly? These people are all in one scene, and then the backdrop is another one. So that's fun as well. Next day in the village green. So this is the building that faces the village green. This is where I'm looking going, this is really interesting. This is kind of, I look at this and think this is an unfinished page. Like, I mean, it's got a nice L and I've got a nice white space, but like if I'd had more time, I would have added something or done something more. The fact I would have added some more text or something. So it's interesting, as I flip through this book, I realize there's a lot of unfinished pages in this book. This is another unfinished page, which is starting a sketch and not having the energy. And this is actually immediately after the last time I did a sketchbook tour. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like I look at a sketch and I can remember like how I felt at the time. I assume some of you also feel that? Then this is, we're in mid-winter here in Sydney, so this is trying to find somewhere where there's some nice afternoon sun. And I'm still playing with the neo colors quite a lot. I really love the color scheme of this sketch. It's not really, it looks more springish than winter, but I just love the greens and the turquoise and the yellow. And I'm always playing at the moment. What keeps me motivated is to constantly try new techniques. So, some of my sketchbook is my playground. I'm not trying to do masterpieces. I'm trying to just play and experiment the whole time. So in this particular coffee sketch, for example, I like through here, some of these colors through here. This bit here is really nice. But then through here is a little bit murky, a little bit opaque. And so as I go through and fill a sketchbook, I'm always looking at my sketches and having a conversation with myself in a really positive way, going, oh, I like this bit. So even an unsuccessful sketch, I always try to look back at something that is something that I was really happy about and try and have this positive conversation with myself. And then the next page is a whole lot of practice, test trying a whole lot of different things. I did a workshop for Faber-Castell Australia, showing people how I use the Gold Faber aqua marker. So this is a water-soluble marker, dye-based. And Chantal's probably going to put a link into the chat of, I did a live stream workshop with them, and there is a replay, and that's available through the link on my blog, which will appear in the chat in a few minutes. So this is just, one of my working pages. And then we go on to wrapping up my teacups course. So if you're unaware, in the month of June, I went through a new course on teacup sketching, which was so much fun. And it's a very in-depth look at how to draw a complex object. And on this particular day, I actually acquired a couple more vintage cups and a plate that matches another one of my vintage cups. Tragically, this one broke when a week ago, which has made me very sad. But like, I'm really busy, but I just do really quick sketches. I wasn't in the right frame of mind to sit down and do one of my slow things. So it's just quick things. This is just markers. And then we start getting into the family session, and I can see that that link is now in the chat. Thank you, of that Faber-Castell workshop. So this is me getting up to go to the airport to meet my sister. So 6 a.m. flat white, sketching on the train, being half asleep. A sticker from my nephew, a quick sketch in the park, trying to draw some people in the airport, but I was still half asleep. A quick sketch while we're just sitting down for a few moments. So as I'm starting now, I'm going out with my sister and family a fair bit, and so yeah, you'll see my work getting kind of looser, and I'm sketching in the in-between moments. This one is my local cafe, trying to recover after wrapping up the teacups course. So still doing a bit, playing with a bit of Neo color at the time, and I really don't want. I was really tired. I was like, oh, this is not the day for them to do some very, very fancy coffee art for me. It's like I just prefer a big simple heart or something simple. Okay, so any questions as I'm going along? How do you find it hard to sketch when you're out with family, with particularly if you're out with little kids who are demanding your attention? Let me know in the chat. So this now is, my sketchbook is recording events. It's not about creating masterpieces at this point. So I went on a bushwalk with my sister and family, and this was just very quick at the end. I walk ahead and start sketching, and then I wait till they're hanging around for me so I can finish it. And then this is with my sister and family and my brother and family with the kids, trying to just draw bits and pieces, writing down notes, messy handwriting. One of my nephews smudged my page, and so this is stuff. So why isn't the chat updating? Okay, I'm not sure I'm seeing all of the chat. There's a question here from Eva. Oh, I can see that. I can see the question. Sorry. The chat seems quiet today. I'm used to it being a lot more active. Eva's asking, it seems not too personal. The scripture passages, what are they from? So I know last time I was talking about how I'm reading through the Bible. I had a little bit of a break. This is from a devotional called Daily Light. So that's what I'm using, which is, yes, I use the daily, it's called Daily Light or something, on the Daily Path, something that I'm using at the moment. So it has it has verses by a theme. What is the blue? The blue in these trees is one of these gold Faber markers, which is a bit of a crazy color. This is me showing my nephew how I use washi tape to do my color swatches. Diane saying, I never sketch around friends or family. It'd be something to work towards. I find it difficult to do in front of people I don't know. Yes, your family do know. This is why your family can actually be, they kind of expect you to do it. This then is Village Green on a day when I was obviously very distracted. I don't know why, but I can feel that we're distracted. A couple of quite personal pages. So there are some pages in this book that I'm not sharing with you. I know sometimes I share every page. This time, not particularly. This is a family gathering with lots of kids, and it's not like I'm thinking about sketching all the time, but it's in the back of my mind, and sometimes it's like there's a little bit of a pause. I'm not quite in a conversation, or it's quiet. So I grab my stuff and I sit down. So I was sitting down sketching the cubby house, and my 5-year-old nephew was asking me questions, and then why are you using this color? So I did some color mixing swatches with him, which didn't work very well. So I don't know. But anyway, it's all fun. So this is the thing, when you do a sketch, even if a sketch isn't successful, it's a lovely memory for you, and it helps you remember an event. You see, this is interesting. This is a page that doesn't have any color. I feel like this is, recording a few bits and pieces. The water bottle I'm using, the Faber-Castell fountain pen that I've started using, getting a new case for my iPhone, trying to see if an old TomTom would work, which it didn't. And then sketching, doing a bit of a fun sketch, just markers and pencil. So this is kind of a bit of a theme as I'm starting to go out with the family more, trying to work out what is the quickest way. What is the quickest way I can do a sketch? And this was a time when a local artist, walked past and said, "Why on earth are you sketching that?" And so that prompted me to remind myself about a book by Charles Hawthorne, called Painting on Painting. I don't even know what the book's called. Anyway, and then I'll just read this quote to you because I find it so inspirational. And it says, we must teach ourselves to see the beauty of the ugly, to see the beauty of the commonplace. It's so much greater to make much out of little than to make little out of much. Better to make a big thing out of a little subject than to make a little thing out of a big subject. So that's just like a very inspirational quote, and one that's very influential for me as I sit every morning and sketch in the village green. Audrey's asking a good question. How long should a beginner plan to spend on location for a sketching session? I'm going on a trip out of the country and want to plan some sketching sessions while out doing tourist activities. Now, well, this is actually a good question for the chat. Why don't you put in the chat an answer to Audrey how much time you think, Audrey Renee, sorry, how much time you think you need to do a sketch. Now, I think you would probably need you need to allow probably an hour for most people, right? Which is quite a while. Some people might need 2 hours, but I would say as a guideline, 1 hour. But let me know in the chat how long do you think? Like if you had 10 minutes, would you do a sketch, or you would prefer 20 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? Let me know in the chat, because I think that will be very interesting to see. I'm very quick. I know if I have 20 minutes, I will do a sketch. I will even do a sketch in 5 minutes, which you'll see. Eva saying that quote is beautiful. Your handwriting is so neat and tidy. Do you actually need the blue guidelines? I don't need them, but I'm an architect by training, and one of the rules, the very first rule in architecture school, was always add lines under your writing. So I still do it because it just makes me more comfortable. Excuse me. Mona says 15 to 20, 45 minutes if I get paints out, but she works in a tiny sketchbook. So yeah, that's the thing too, is size as well. This is the cup that broke. But anyway, new teacup now. At least I used it non-stop for a month. This is one of my favorite little spots locally where I can go and sit and have a big vista. So this is like in between my sister and family and crazy kids. I then try and do some solo sketching as well. 1 to 2 hours. There's some chats as well, at least an hour. It depends on your subject. Yes, of course, it's a lot of things, but I think an hour is good. 30 to 90 minutes is a good guess. 45 minutes longer for paints. Okay, this is really interesting. Everyone has different timing. So as I am starting to go out with my sister, I'm starting to think, you know, how much time am I going to get paint? What material? So I'm thinking through in between the family outings, what I need to do. And so I actually decided that I've missed a page. I missed a page. Yes, I missed a page. Okay, so I was thinking that doesn't make any sense. This was an outing with my sister that I went. She's crazy. She loves swimming in cold water, so she went swimming. And there were 3 times when I could sit down and do a quick sketch. And all I found is I found I could start drawing, and then I pulled out some colored pencils and used them dry. And so that's then that thought process going, okay, there are little moments where, I can sit down, or I could stand up. But most of the time I like sitting down. I can sit down and start sketching. And that was then the idea that then when I came to this page, I was thinking, well, maybe rather than color pencils, maybe I should use watercolor pencils, because that just gives me an option to be able to use them dry or to add some water. Chris is asking, do you go outside every day to look for something to sketch? I don't sketch on Sunday, so it's only ever 6 days in a week. But yes, I am happy if I go out every day. So I do try. That's where the idea of the morning, like I start my day by going for a walk, getting a coffee, doing a sketch. This morning I didn't, but I'll go this afternoon. And so that at least means there's something, I don't know, there's just something so nice about being outside, getting some sun if it's not too hot, having the world going around me that just makes me happy. And so, yes, I try to go out as much as I can. And yeah, so anyway, so I was thinking about watercolor pencils, and I had a big outing. So I thought, right, I'm going to try and see how I go with watercolor pencils. So once again, go out, sketch the village green, and then I went out with my sister and family. So this is sculpture, is it? And near the Botanic Gardens, which I knew, so I'm thinking ahead of where I'm taking them. I think, the kids, my nephew's going to love jumping up and down these. So as we're walking, I go, right, I'm going to walk, I'm going to sit. I found a seat, a rock to sit on in the sun really quickly. The first thing I made a beeline to that, sat down, took a took a photo immediately. I got my sketchbook out and started drawing, right? And I said, how long will I get? So I was actually layering different colors, and I had 7 minutes. So this is a 7-minute sketch, but I didn't know how long, but I had a strategy of, I'm going to go sit down straight away and see how long my nephew can run around before getting bored. This one is the next sketch. Now this is an example of a sketch that isn't quite finished. Like, it's a bit, I could improve it. I could fix it up a little bit, but it's kind of what we're doing. Like, at the moment, it's like I do what I can do, and then I don't stress about it. So this is my sister and niece went inside the shop. So I sat outside with my nephew and sketched that, and then added a bit of watercolor later, but didn't get to finish it. Then we went to the succulent garden. Now, those of you in Sydney know the succulent garden has this big loop. So I walked in, same thing. I walked in, sat down straight away, started sketching and let the family do the loop, and then they came back. And then, my nephew's going, Auntie Wiz, why didn't you come with us? I go, no, I'll catch up to you. So sometimes I've got to negotiate my nephew, my demanding nephew, who I love very much, but he just wants me to be with him all the time. Yes, cactus. So I actually did this one intending to add watercolor over it. So I was thinking about adding water, and then I decided I liked it so much that I kept it. So this is one of the fun things about when you use watercolor pencils. You've got so many options. And then we went to the art gallery, and it's just really no hope of being able to sketch much in the art gallery, just constantly moving. But I did manage these two spears. I think my nephew might have asked me to sketch them, and then they were then going on to the museum, and I said, right, that's it, I'll leave you now. So I was able to go, okay, righto, that was fun, bye. And then I sat down and was able to sketch the outside of the art gallery with my watercolor pencils, and then I did a little bit more sketching on my own. So this is kind of mixing line and watercolor pencil and having no plan, just working very, very spontaneously. This is a sushi. This is a food court sketch as well. And I mean, I know some of you live in Arizona in desert lands where you have lots of cactus. So for me, it's a bit of a treat. So this particular day, so like, you can't do all the little spiky bits. So you just do a couple. You've got to simplify. And so that's the skill of being able to sketch when you're around other people is as much about the mindset of how you're going to simplify something and making those decisions as it is, and just purely working fast. I mean, I do both. So on this particular day, I realized, this watercolor pencil was surprisingly slow. Maybe I need something in order to be able to fill in big shapes. And so the next day we're going to the Blue Mountains, and I was going with my sister's family and my brother's family, so 6 kids. And so I took out I lightened my load. I knew we'd be doing a bit of a walk, so I lightened my load, took out my watercolor, which was like 700 grams or something, quite heavy, and just had a few pencils and a few markers, very, very light. And I just started sketching whenever I could. So this was like, we only had a few minutes down at this lookout. It was freezing cold, very windy. And this is how much I got done at the time, and then I completely left it. And I just left it. So when I'm doing these crazy days when I don't know how much I'm going to do, I sometimes leave things and sometimes finish them off. So on this case, I left it. The next time we went to a park, I was able to sit down while we're having morning tea and sketch this rock. This is like a fiberglass rock enclosure, kind of crazy things up in the Blue Mountains. And then my nephew climbed up, and then everyone else climbed up. So I was able to draw that. Fun to see so much watercolor pencil. Jen's asking, are you planning to go back over it and fill it in? No. So if I don't fill it in at the time, I don't go back. But I might fill it in that day. So in this case, the next lookout, I did 2 sketches that were quite similar. a few ink, bit of watercolor pencil, maybe a bit of marker. And then this one I decided to add watercolor over the top. This one I decided to leave exactly as is. So I kind of sometimes finish off a sketch, but most of the time, not most of the time, I make a decision whether I'm going to finish it off or leave it. On this occasion, I wanted to do a bit of both. The thicker line headings, like this one down here, this is using the Fude pen and it's just in my normal handwriting. So this is the Fude 55 degree. It's just my normal handwriting, and that's how I do the headings. Hey, hi James, how are you? Good. Okay, so yeah, so that's the thicker headings. My normal handwriting's done with a TWSBI. So this next one is an example where I decided to finish one off and I decided to leave one just as the line work. So this particular sketch at the time, I'm pretty sure all I did at the time was the ink lines very, very quickly, and then some really scribbly watercolor pencil lines, which you can still see here. And then I put the watercolor on later. So this is, a case of that. The next day, so this now is me trying to think about, different ways of using watercolor pencil. This turned out a bit heavy. This is watercolor pencil and watercolor, which is what I normally like to do. And then this is a page that I shared both on my blog and Instagram, where this is what I traditionally like doing with watercolor pencil, which is to put a little bit of watercolor pencil down for texture and then put watercolor over the top. But this was a lunch with Chantal, actually, celebrating the end of Teacups. This was a case when I did the watercolor pencil texture, thinking that I would paint over it, and then decided that I quite liked it as it was dry. So, yeah, that's one of the things about watercolor pencil. It could be a dilemma, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, I've scanned this. Sometimes if I'm not sure, I scan it dry and then add the color. Then at least I can have two different versions. Love the clouds in this one. So I was playing with a bit of resist at the time from there. So it's kind of a bit experimental. So I did ask the question, I think it was pretty much 50-50 whether I should add paint over the top of this. I decided, once again, the book's finished. I'm not going to touch it now. The next day, this is pretty crazy. A very wild, loose marker and watercolor pencil. No paint, no water with that one. Do I do larger paintings from my sketches? No, I don't. And now this is going to the piano competition. I have a friend who was a competitor. So this is not me trying to do like portraits. It's me actually just documenting their positions as they're playing, and as a way of, sometimes I can remember which pieces they're playing at the time. This is my friend who did quite well, got into the next round. And then towards the end of the concert, because it's quite a long concert, the last performer was actually the most expressive, but I kind of ran out of, I wasn't going to start another page, but I could have done about 5 pages for this girl's positions. So that was fun. 2 days when basically the only sketching I got done was morning tea with some friends. So I did the coffee while I'm talking, afternoon tea with my sister and family. I managed to do that before we did things. Just markers. I didn't have any pencils or pens, so just markers, just kind of a bit abstract, just really thinking about shapes, which is something that's really important in my foundations course, lesson 3. And then trying to sketch Vietnamese at dinner with my family was a bit crazy. So that I just leave it the way it is. Nice memory of crazy day. Another incomplete day. This particular one is starting with a shadow shape and then drawing some pencil over the top. This is scans of my niece and nephew's drawings. And then I went on a solo outing. So what I managed to what I managed to do during July is that if I wasn't going out with my sister, I would go out and do some solo sketching as a way of thinking about strategies for how to sketch when I was with them. Eva saying, as a family of musicians, I love your piano competition sketching. Thank you. It was a lot of fun to do. Okay, so this is then one kind of afternoon. I don't know. I think I probably caught a train at about 11:30. Anyway, this is a continuous line while I was waiting 8 minutes for a train. And I was intending it only to be about this big, but it grew and grew and grew. So this is how this is a single line, and this is how much I can draw in 8 minutes of a single line as well. And then I went and had morning tea at my favourite tea room in the Rocks. So I was just playing with watercolour pencil. There's a little bit of marker here as well, but yeah, just having fun and not taking it too seriously. Questions: why do you occasionally include colour swatches? Extra pencils I got on Saturday. So they often record a purchase, or when I'm trying to, the ones before was trying to, this particular one, I have a full set of polychromos, but not a full set of the Albert Dürer. So I was going through the polychromos to see which colors I might want in the Albert Dürer. And so this then is the colors that I bought. So yeah, so continuous lines, great way to fill in time. You got no idea where it's going. And it's really good. This is such a great eye-hand coordination test, because as I'm working and going across here and come back, is this somehow going to align? And so I can test myself in that. And it's pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good. So yeah, so this then was like watercolor pencil. I think there's a bit of there's a bit of marker and watercolor over it, and I didn't really like the result, which is like the way I often use watercolor pencils. So next I just did watercolor pencils with a little bit of marker. So this is me testing different things. This is a Neocolor Sky, probably. Trying different things. So as I'm sketching, each sketch is trying a slightly different technique. This is watercolor pencil and marker and water. And this is like one of my biggest sketching days I've had. And basically I just started and I did quite a lot of walking. But I was walking along, and that was the tea room, but I just would see somewhere to sit. Here's something I could sketch, sit down, sketch, and then keep walking. And so so I wasn't planning, I wasn't looking for a sketch, I was just sitting down doing a sketch, and ended up filling 10 pages. And there's a question, what colours painting cream? This is actually watercolor. This was watercolor pencil, so I used the Ivory Albert Dürer. Painting cream on the scone. And for the shadow, that's a sky blue, and it's got a little bit of a grey marker. Sometimes light ultramarine as well. So at the moment, these are watercolor pencils. And then I started playing with combining the markers and the watercolor pencils in different ways, using an old marker that was about running out. So this then is more playing, just, very loose. So these sketches are only taking me 20, 30 minutes, maybe. That's just my natural pace. This sketchbook is taking me a long time to get through. Okay. I like that you do your maps without street names. Okay, I have drawn a map of a city so many times, right? So you don't have to draw every street in a map. So you can see this is just simply an outline of the harbour, the main expressway. That's the Carl Expressway. This is Macquarie Street, Martin Place, Pitt Street, and that was George Street, right? So I just made them the main, just enough to position. It's not totally accurate either, but that's just enough to document. Now I was playing with colours, trying something. I love this building. I still haven't done a sketch that I'm happy about, but that's okay. And then one of the things I think is fantastic about dry media is the fact that you can just start a sketch and let it grow, and you can grow it in a consistent way. When you use watercolor, you've got to be a lot more careful about how you're going to plan a wash. Now, I still work in that spontaneous way when I'm watercolor, but I feel like there's so much more freedom with dry media. So this is like, I started here thinking, oh, I'm not going to draw the whole of Sydney Hospital. No, I'm not going to do it. And as I started, I just kept working and working and working and working and working. So that's kind of one of the really fun things as well. Uh, that I do. And then this then is a office tower foyer of JP Morgan or something, which is really fun. So I really love, I think it's my architectural background, I really love the crisp, hard edges of markers. So this is kind of a very loose combination of markers and watercolor, and of course my ink pen as well. So in a cafe, a bit distracted, nothing very exciting. And then with the family, now if anyone's in Sydney and has ever been to Maryland Central Gardens, you'll know that there's this amazing free wildlife park with kangaroos and birds and snakes and all kinds of and emus. And so I actually wanted to sketch the animals, but we weren't there for very long. And then we ended up staying at the play area for 2 hours. So I was kind of like, I had to be social. So I was just sketching the view. And then my niece goes, why didn't you sketch the play equipment? So I started doing that. And then we had these kangaroo shaped snacks, which I've never seen before. So anyway, so that's enough of a memory. I'm just able to fit in sketches. And then the rest of my book, I just let this is a portrait of me. I just let my nieces and nephews do whatever they want in the back of my book, right? So I used to sometimes let them do it in the inside, like chronologically, but now I just let them play. And then I don't know if I've ever shown you this, but at the back of the book these days, I'm now putting a calendar, and I do a lot of planning in the back of my book. I used to carry a bullet journal around. So by the end of this sketchbook, I was so sick of how big and heavy this was, and it's so heavy to carry around when I was going out with my family. Now, I love this book, and I've been using this book for nearly 12 months now. So I decided, like, right, that's it. Let's go smaller. So I decided to go to the square book. So it's quite a lot smaller. It's got less pages, and it's much, much lighter. So this was quite a shock to the system. And so let's just see if we can open that and make sure that is now. Yes. So at this stage, I've actually put my watercolor paints away, right? So just having a bit of a break because of the family. And I know a lot of people love square sketchbooks, and in one sense, they seem like they could be the perfect book because they're great for vertical, and like they've got enough height if you've got a vertical subject, and you can do landscapes. But I found that I was missing the height a little bit. So this is just, village green. Instead of it being a smaller sketch, this now village green, my morning village green sketch is now filling up a whole spread. So I find that I don't have quite as much options for the page layouts, which, if you've noticed, I really love doing this. So this is me going to, I had a bad headache this day. I don't know why I'd go to Luna Park when I have a headache and there's people everywhere. Anyway, I started sketching, and as I often do, I start at the top and work down. You can see I kind of ran out of room. It's okay. I've got enough of the people, but I just found like, wow, I can't, I've got to get used to not having the height, because I've been using A4s for, as I said, nearly 12 months. This is out of order. Anyway, I seem to be skipping pages. This is a bit of a lunch. Same thing. It's like all this is a plate of food and a coffee, and I filled the whole spread. So it's liberating in a way. A small sketchbook, you're not going to be able to put as much different things on the page, but you can do it. Look at that. I did a curved thing. And then this is Wendy Whiteley's Secret Garden. And it's really strange for me to go right to the edge. So I was like, oh, this is really fun. This is different. Okay, so I'm using, this book is nearly 100% watercolor pencil and markers. I'm playing with different colors, like that blue tree. It's just really fun to work with pastel opaque when you're used to watercolor and transparent. So this was a lot of fun. Next day I went to another garden. This time I was with my sister and my nephew, and they thought they'd give me time to sit and sketch, but like it's never enough time. So this was finished afterwards, but yeah, it's not as successful, a little bit overworked. And then we went to the Sydney Live Steam Locomotive Society day at West Ryde. I don't know if anyone in Sydney's done it, but they've got all these miniature, they're legitimate steam trains, and then you ride. So once again, this is a case when I don't know. I didn't know if I'd get any time to sketch because it was all pretty crazy, but I did manage. It was a kind of a quiet moment when I'm able to. I then start to do a sketch, and if I don't finish a sketch, that's fine. Sharon's asking what markers and what colors of markers do you use? I have been using, so I didn't actually show you this page, did I? Okay. I have been using the gold Faber aqua markers, and this was the full set that I was taking. But at the moment, I keep changing, so I don't have a set. I'm in experimentation mode. So whatever we get is whatever we get. Like I keep changing it all the time. This is a wet day, so I did a coffee. This is so out of character to go and draw every stone. This is another one of those slightly curved perspectives. Sitting close to a church, the actual view doesn't really make sense from a perspective point of view, but I'm just drawing what I see, starting here and working across. So you know, that's like fun. I was like very out of character. So this is me on a day when I wasn't with my sister, going out and just doing a quick sketch, a little bit of swatching, mixing. So here's some other color markers that I'm using and combining them with different colors. Another one where, because I was kind of in half vacation mode in July, so I can tell I wouldn't, if I was working, if I had a busy day of work, there's no way I would sit and sketch all this amount of detail. So it must have been very relaxed at the time. And then I had an afternoon at Cockatoo Island. So this is, I'm trying all different color combinations, and sadly, I don't exactly know what I was doing here, but I'm very excited by that amount of different colors and having warm and cool over the top. Susan said you lived in Clara, so you know that church. Okay, so this is really, so I was like really excited. This one was not quite so successful, but I am trying and playing with different things all the time. Same here. So sometimes I will just do a sketch, and I know that it's not a very exciting scene or sketch, but it is a tool for me to experiment. So you can only do so much by doing swatches. You really need to actually try things in a real sketch. And then here you can see, I don't know if you can see, but through here, so you can see there's glimpses of quite a pink marker underneath some of them. So this is where I would have started with a little bit of marker and then put the watercolor pencil over the top. And this is almost going to 3 sides. It's very out of character to do such a full-on sketch. I was chatting to a friend at the time, not really concentrating, but there's lots of different layers and colors all the time. My page of marker swatches, is it just random? No, it's definitely not random, but it's definitely not. I'm definitely distinct. I am testing things, but it's, yeah, it makes sense to me. But don't ask me to explain it, because I'm still in this experimental mode. So while I'm experimenting, trying new things, I can't tell you exactly what I'm doing because it's changing all the time. So this is I had 15 minutes to sketch before the ferry. I only used 12 of the 15 minutes. And so this is an incomplete sketch. So you can actually get a bit of a hint of some of the things that I'm using, some of the colors. Once again, is that quite pink marker underneath some of these as well. So it's fun to do an incomplete sketch as well. Sketching while waiting for a friend. Same thing. Mark. You can see a bit of marker lines, bit of watercolor pencil. Yeah, all kind of fun. Same here. So sometimes I will use. I mean, the great thing about my village green sketching is that the scene will be there tomorrow. Hopefully, it'll be there tomorrow. So it's like I don't really care about it. It can give me a chance to really experiment. How do you plan ahead where you put the washi tape? The washi tape for my skies or for my swatches. So the swatches, I'll put the washi tape down. When I do skies, are there any? There are any here? I make that decision. I do my skies last, and I make the decision after I have finished the sketch and when I'm thinking more about page layouts. So this is, did that answer your question? If not, ask me just a bit more. Where do you start when you start sketching people? I normally start with their head. So, and so if they move, at least I've got a head and shoulders. So that's a big topic, but that's normally where I start. So this is then going back into the city a week after my mega day, and it's kind of like there's a little bit of pressure as to, after having a really good day, how am I going to go the next day? And the next week, I didn't feel like I could find places to sketch. So sometimes I go and I just have a day where you just sit and sketch and walk and stop and sketch. And other days you walk and can't find anything. So this one, I kind of enjoy sketching the trains. And I just want to make a note, is there sometimes when I'm doing that first pass really quickly, I can make an error because I'm thinking about the whole, not really concentrating. So you can see here that I actually drew those doors way too big initially, and I'll just leave it like that. It's kind of add a bit of color. It's fine. Some Mary's Cathedral. So here's some more. These are some more. I picked up some cheap markers that were on special, and then I started putting them in here. So there's a interesting green in here. So this is St Mary's Cathedral. Really fun just to do shadow shapes to define a form. This is in Hyde Park. And then I went to the Australian Museum. So this is kind of sketching outside, starting with watercolor pencil and then putting a little bit of ink over it. And then this is just two things I found in the museum. I sketched with pencil inside the museum, and then when I took a photo when I came out, I added a little bit mark on this, and then I decided to use this funny face as a fun way of doing some more texture and everything. Sketchbooks for combining the Faber-Castell and Albert Dürer markers. Yes, I don't actually use the Albert Dürer markers, the watercolor markers, so much, though I did last year, so you can find some tips for that. Is this more colors that I bought? I don't know. Yes, maybe it is. Okay. Like the problem with color pencils, you just end up buying way too many watercolor pencils. This is another interior. So when I do interiors, I really like complex interiors, which have got overlapping shapes and fun things. You can see this pink marker line as well, which is underneath a bit of yellow, bit of fun completely. Then the next day I ended up going to the museum with my sister and family. So this is a case, and oh wow, I just realized, okay, that line there is actually a leg of the tortoise. But what I did was just with pencil, this is really hard because my nephew just wanted to see, show me things. And so I just quickly did outlines in pencil, and then afterwards I decided on a few things to add ink and color to, just because I don't know, I like color. And so that's kind of a bit of a strategy. Here's this dinosaur again, and another one. And so what I do when I do if I do a pencil outline in the museum and take a photo, when I come and finish off the sketch, I don't correct my pencil. So if my pencil was a bit wonky at the time, I just live with it. I don't try to correct it because it's kind of like I am finishing off a sketch that I started on location, so I want to just record what I actually did on location. Mixed media head scratching. Yes, I know. It's underestimating just how hard it is. Yeah, it's kind of you've got to start slow, and it can be quite overwhelming and not sure what you're doing. This is a Lego block type dinosaur with the family. You know, one of my nephews said it's a bit good, and then the other nephew said no, it's good. So I like writing down little things like that. This is a bag of tea, and this is very out of character for me to enjoy doing all of this little detail all the time. This is a picture of my nephew. Yeah, just boring scene, overcast. Just sitting sketching. But and these kind of scenes, even though they're really boring and really interesting, because you notice how many different retails come and go between. Then I went to the Powerhouse Museum with the family, and I know there's one seat in the Powerhouse which is in the space area, but then this was done standing up. So, you know, just whatever I can, and then just add more notes. Obviously, an overcast day, trying different techniques for the same scene, which is fun. And then the rest of the day went to family reunion. So I missed another page. So I actually did a big family tree, which was quite fun to do. And then I went to this family reunion. There was 50 people. Some of my cousins I hadn't seen for 12 years or something. And I didn't think I'd get to sketch at all. And I didn't even think about sketching. So that's like a sign of how crazy and exciting it was. But then right towards the end of the day, I suddenly realized I was in between talking to people. And so I quickly grabbed my book and then just started to sketch. And what's really nice is I was half engaged in this conversation that was happening here. I just did this sketch, and it's a lovely memory. As I said, the conversations that were happening with these two groups are encoded in it. I'm definitely not going to finish this. This is just what it was at the time. And it's a lovely memory of a very, very special day. So that's also, you know, one of the reasons why when I choose to finish a sketch or add color afterwards, it's either because I feel like the page needs it, or I want to experiment with something. And other times I just want to keep it as a record of what I got at the time. I enjoy hearing you say this is out of character film, which translates to me evolving in your art sketching. Yes, and it's also just kind of having a little bit more time means I go into a bit more detail. So, you know, here's a quiet day, a coffee at a different cafe, and I was like, I couldn't find anything inspirational at all. Like where I was looking, it was just not. There was no people. I didn't want to draw empty tables and chairs, so I ended up just doing this really boring view of a couple of trees and some lampposts. But anyway, it's a record. This is, I can't believe it, it's like the end of my sister and family's visit. So this is breakfast that I sketched very quickly from a photo. Last village green sketch while the kids were running around, and my niece started singing Gaelic songs non-stop. And so that's all I got done. So you can actually see that that's like a little bit of my first pass when I do some of these sketches. And then went to the airport with them and then caught the train home. So this is just recording the two different trains and views. You can see empty trains. Another village green sketch, you know, trying to kind of do a bit more perspective, oblique views, still playing around with markers and colours. Back in the city again, this is a water play park that my nephew liked a lot. So I was this was kind of like a processing going, oh, the family's gone, I'm feeling sad, so I'm going to sketch something that has memories of them being there. Darling Harbour, just some fun orange and pink colours that I don't normally use. Trying to find a seat in the sun and then sketching in black and white. That's the Chinese gardens. This is Chinatown. And then this is then when I decided I feel like doing another sketch and wasn't anywhere to sit. So I just sketched standing up. I go, oh, I really should do this more often. So this is a 12-minute sketch. And I was like really loose and fun, and I really should do this more. But I'm kind of so lazy these days. I just want, if I sketch, I want to sit down when I do a sketch. So this is marker, watercolor pencil, and a bit of Neo color for the sky. Village green, starting. So this is what I do is like I sit and sketch the same views, but I'm trying different things. So this has got this really bright blue shadow shape down first that I then sketched over. And as I was working, going, I think this is not going to work. This is really terrible. And then the end go, no, actually, I quite like this now. So that's one of the things that I just really like, experimenting with myself, trying different things. And then this is, I got a box, a very special box from Faber-Castell Australia of new materials to start. So it was a set of pastel pencils, which I don't know quite what to do with. Some graphite pencils, and then some colored pencils, some bright colored pencils, and some grey markers. And so over the next 2 months, so this month and next month, I'm going to be using these different materials, and pushing myself even further. A day when I didn't go out for the morning coffee, so I sketched my coffee at home, and then I went out and had an afternoon coffee and sat and sketched. And now this is another view in my local area, though in winter I normally only sketch it in the afternoon. And another village green, so it's the same view, almost a slightly different view, but same view, but different colors all the time. Love, like the joyful sketching, like a wonderful children's book. So yes, it's been really fun. My sketches are the same in the other book, but they feel a bit different in a smaller book because I feel like I'm going to the edge more. And there is the link to the supplies that were in that Colour for Life box. So Faber-Castell here in Australia, they run a competition at the moment, annual competition with lots of cool prizes. So if you go to that link that Chantal's just showed, you can then go to links for the competition, and then just another park. I'm getting a bit bored. Sometimes with color, I found this too when I started using color pencils last year. Sometimes I start and go, oh, I don't have the effort to do all of the pencil marks, and then you just start getting into a bit of a rhythm. Last, a bit of a grey scale marker sketch, and then this is then the color scheme of these colourful that was in that box. So there are no browns, there are no greys, and there's one nice green, and the other greens are not natural. So this is actually the challenge I've set for myself, is to use these really bright, lively greens. They don't have the nice blues I like, and to see how I go. This is me experimenting, going, how do I get a dark with these colours, and stuff like that. And then last page is just some, this is Emma Block has a book that I was using while I was babysitting my niece. We were just drawing some of the pictures, so this is just me drawing along with her. And then back page again. So there you have it. I've gone a little bit over the hour, but that's my last 2 sketchbooks. So let me know if you've got any final questions while I zoom out. So I'm really after the big book, and I love this big book, but it's just so heavy. I can't believe I carried it around with me everywhere. And so it's been really liberating to use a smaller book, and I'm not necessarily sketching larger. I'm probably sketching quite similar size. It's just I'm going to the edge more. So it has a different feel because my sketches are proportionally bigger. I am struggling, this is like a really tall building, so it was like, good, I fit it on the page, but there's no float. So I'm still struggling a little bit with the height, and I'm also struggling with getting enough white space for my normal notes. So that's why sometimes I have pages like this, where I feel like I'm wasting a spread quite a lot because I want to do a lot. I want to write more than I'm writing at the moment. So that's been one of the challenges. But Yeah, that's what I've got. But you can see that as I was, with the family, I kept trying to do different strategies, saying, can I fit a sketch in? Can I do, um, where's that? Can I fit in a quick sketch? Am I going to leave it complete? Am I going to finish it? These are all the things. And yeah, so that's what I've been up to, and I'm still working on another one of these at the moment. So, if there are no more questions, thank you so much. What am I doing? I've got to come over here and come back here. Thank you so much for joining this live stream. I really enjoy doing these, sharing my work in a live way and getting your comments and feedback as I go. I think, sketching can sometimes be quite a solitary experience. So I find that really being able to share it with you live, with the group here, is just so much fun. So thank you so much. If you're doing the foundations course at the moment, going through, just a reminder, I'm going to be doing a live stream next week where I can answer some questions. Is there any reason why I wouldn't sketch vertically across the pages? I can do it, I sometimes do it, but I like the flow of the book. So, rotating vertically kind of interrupts that flow a little bit. Thank you so much for being here and all your kind words. And I hope that you have a fantastic month of sketching. And could you review again the color tools that you're using? It's changing all the time, Michelle. So I would have to, yes, constantly changing. But if you go to my blog, you will see me talking about them. Did someone ask? Yes. What size next? Is this? Oh yeah. Look, I've got a sticker from my nephew on the back as well. Yes. So this size is the one. This is my current book. So yeah. The other problem with the small book is that I filled this in 2 weeks. So that is the other problem, is I go through them too quickly and it becomes very expensive. Anyway, that's enough from me today. I hope you can get out and do some sketching. Thanks again so much for being part of this, and see you next time. Okay, bye. See you next time. Happy sketching.